Jojo has a variety of stands that have their own degrees of power. Within the sea of them, we've seen some that have the capacity to solo the entire universe, from both heroes and villains alike. So I thought I'd take these powerful stands and rank them from weakest to strongest. So at the very bottom of the list is Killer Queen in its upgraded form, Bites the Dust. Killer Queen's most basic ability is turning anything into a bomb. These bombs are pretty much invisible to the naked eye, and once Kira flips a switch, anyone or anything will immediately explode. This is an instant kill move in a lot of cases. Killer Queen has a sub-stand called Sheer Attack. It takes the form of a miniature tank, and its ability is exploding when in proximity of a target. These explosions are extremely powerful, and the stand will pursue anything with a heat signature. It's also close to indestructible, as not even Star Platinum could destroy it. Killer Queen's most powerful ability is Bites the Dust. Anyone who intends to expose Kira's identity will be targeted by the stand. It implants itself in an individual's eye, and once it pushes the switch, all affected will immediately explode, and this power is pretty much unblockable. Bites the Dust can also travel back in time. Whenever Kira feels a sense of desperation, he can activate Bites the Dust and go back several minutes or an hour back in time. Only he will remember traveling back. Sea-Moon makes Pushy the center of reverse gravity. Any objects near Pushy will begin falling sideways or upwards, as if that was the direction of the ground. Any projectiles or attacks will also be repelled. Only things already fixed to the ground will remain the same. Because the gravity is flipped, that puts opponents at a major disadvantage because of the new hazards. Only Pushy and the stand can seamlessly move in this flipped gravity. You would need to move outside of the ability's range for gravity to return to normal. If its fist makes contact with any individual, the place where they were touched will begin moving inside out, even if the stand grazes them. This can be used to cripple some, but if the stand manages to hit the center mass, or the head of an opponent, it pretty much spells instant death. This power can also be used on inanimate objects, turning them inside out instead. Soft and Wet can plunder the properties from any object. The first is sound, allowing Josuke to make a room or object soundless. Another is friction, making anything slippery like ice. When the plunder bubbles make contact with the human body, this allows the stand to steal your body's water and eyesight. The abilities of plunder pretty much have no limit. The bubbles popping causes a good deal of damage. They can send objects within them flying like projectiles, or be inserted into the human body, causing a good deal of damage. Josuke's secondary bubble, named Go Beyond, can come out of Josuke's birthmark and is almost invisible to the naked eye. Once they make contact with any object, they can erase them from existence. This aspect can be turned off, which allows the bubbles to seamlessly phase through any object, making the bubbles virtually unblockable. The line within the bubble is so thin and spins so fast that it almost doesn't exist, so that in turn allows it to function outside of the world's laws, like time, space, and calamity. Weather Report can control the weather, or more accurately the atmosphere. He summons clouds that can generate winds, water, and electricity for a variety of purposes. The clouds themselves can also be manipulated. Since Weather Report manipulates the atmosphere and its conditions, he can increase their density to block projectiles or start fires due to the friction of rubbing against them. He can increase the concentration of gases in certain environments to stop opponents in their tracks. Weather Report uses that and the aspects of his clouds to create various types of weather phenomenon. He can likely mix and match his abilities to create tornadoes, hail, or hurricanes. The final aspect of Weather Report is heavy weather. An area begins being filled with a bunch of rainbows. Anyone who touches or even looks at these rainbows begins transforming into a snail due to subliminal messaging. Somehow, the transformation process is either sudden or gradual, and you'll begin taking on their traits, such as slow movement speeds. If you touch the snails or anyone turning into a snail, you'll begin transforming into one as well. Only Weather Report can turn off this ability.
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
By wedging himself between two objects, like a door and a wall, President Funny Valentine can travel to another alternate dimension. This will work even if the object is a liquid or come in fragments. Once in that dimension, Valentine can bring his alternate universe selves to his home dimension to help him with certain tasks. Valentine can also bring alternate versions of his enemies to his world, which will then cause them to merge and be destroyed. If Valentine is ever in a situation where his death is guaranteed, he can transfer his stand to an alternate version of himself. They will inherit all the memories and goals of the previous Valentine. D4C Love Train is the powered up version of D4C. Valentine is first surrounded by a golden light, and any attack that intercepts it will be redirected as a Calamity somewhere else. This transcends time, as a Calamity can harm those in the past, future, or present. Potential damage that can be done to Valentine will also be redirected when that injury is put within the light. The light also allows Valentine to glide through the air and embed himself into objects. King Crimson basically allows Diavolo to avoid fate. His substant epitaph allows him to see a couple seconds into the future, and anytime he sees an unfavorable fate, he activates. While within the ability, everyone will proceed to go through their fated movements, while Diavolo doesn't have to follow it at all. He instead repositions himself anywhere on a battlefield for an advantage. Diavolo can't interact with anything within the ability, which comes to his advantage when avoiding attacks. However, he always strikes at the last possible moment before the ability deactivates to surprise his opponents. An added side effect is that the time is essentially erased from people's memories. By taking control of the universe's gravity, Made in Heaven accelerates time. This doesn't affect living things, but inanimate objects will start speeding up. Cars or other moving objects become massively faster to the point where they become deadly projectiles. Food begins going bad in mere seconds, and other man-made objects will fall apart instantly as the entire world begins to crumble. Pushi can move his body alongside the time acceleration, which gives him super speed. And since time is speeding up with no limit, that gives Pushi infinite speed. He'll get faster and faster as time goes on. After enough time, the universe itself will end, and then be reset. This immense speed from Pushi makes him almost impossible to anticipate or attack. Star Platinum and the World both have the highest base strength and perception within Jojo. Their most powerful ability is Time Stop. Both stands can stop time for several seconds, Star Platinum being 5 and the World being 10. Once within stop time, anyone or anything in the surrounding environment ceases to move. Any and all opponents are completely helpless as the stands can now do whatever they want to them, which is even more dangerous when you remember their high strength stats. Once Time Stop deactivates, anything the stands did within stop time will occur. This ability is pretty much undefendable, and it's impossible to anticipate what will happen within stop time. This ability allows Johnny to fire his fingernails like a bullet of a gun. When the bullets of Act 2 leave behind a bullet hole, which technically count as holes in space-time, they'll begin pursuing their opponents and will climb over any obstacle put in their way. Once they reach you, they'll leave behind a bullet hole like originally intended. Johnny or his stand can enter this bullet hole themselves, allowing him to move his body parts anywhere on a battlefield for more range or angles of attack. Any other person or object that intends to enter them will be torn to pieces. Tusk Act 4 is the most powerful ability Johnny has. Any person Tusk punches or touches will be inflicted with an infinite spin. This spin cannot be stopped, as anyone affected will spin forever until they die. They'll be unable to do anything, and any other object in the surrounding area will be torn apart as well. Due to being made out of infinite rotational energy, which is formed through gravity, Tusk can power through impenetrable barriers like Love Train and temporarily move in Time Stop. Johnny can seamlessly switch between all 4 acts. I know this is cheating, but I honestly think both these stands are on par in terms of power. Wonder View controls logic itself, or otherwise known as Calamity. Since it exists in all things, Calamity manipulates the environment itself to attack opponents, no matter how illogical it seems. Any intention to pursue its user will cause the world to attack you instead, and no stand ability can overcome this power. Full Experience Requiem can revert all actions to 0, so any attack you throw at it will be undone as if they never happened. Most won't even remember being reversed, dooming them to repeat the same actions. GR has immeasurable stats and has been shown to force enemies into an infinite death loop. So one stand can control the logic of the world, and another can revert actions to 0. Both abilities are honestly on par.